Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see you all. There are, I think, almost as many new faces here as familiar faces, and that's always a welcome thing. And hello out there, online bodhisattvas. How are you all doing? It's nice to see you in your little squares. So once a student asked a Zen teacher, "How do I enter Zen?" The teacher waited a long time before replying. Then he said, "Do you hear the sound of the stream?" The student listened carefully. He said, "Yes, I hear it." The teacher said, "Enter there." So I love the simplicity of this koan. How do I enter the path of living an authentic life? Where can I get some of what you have, teacher? That equanimity, that wisdom that you seem to emanate. The teacher's answer is so clear. Enter right where you are, right here, in this moment, listening to the sound of the stream. So the Zendo's been closed for a week, and it was actually only a week ago. It was Sunday. Around this time, I guess, that there was a flurry of activity up at Wisdom House as the whole kit and caboodle was being broken down and loaded onto a truck to bring it back to the Zendo here. People were cleaning the kitchen and the office and the Chiden area and bustling around, and then everyone went their separate ways, and Jimon and Shuso, thank you Shuso, thank you Jimon, drove the truck back to the city. Now on Thursday, a small group of bodhisattvas came in and reset the Zendo, and here we are, back up in business again. The week went by very, very quickly, I think. After 2 weeks of intensive retreat, that short break seems very short now. I had planned to spend the first full week of sesshin up at Wisdom House. And on the Saturday that I was supposed to leave for sesshin, I tested positive for COVID. I managed to get through 5 years without getting COVID, so it's pretty good odds overall. But it was a rough week, just dealing with a lot of congestion and fatigue and aches and pains. I was well enough, fortunately, to go up on Thursday of the second week, just for a couple of days. And when I registered, I told our registrar, Yogetsu, well, 2 days of retreat is still a blessing. It's the opportunity to go and sit in silence with my Sangha members for 2 days is still a blessing, even if I didn't get to go for the full week of sesshin that I had planned. But by the time I arrived, after 3.5 hours in traffic, I was not feeling very blessed. I missed dinner. I was late enough that I missed dinner. So I quickly scarfed down some bad pizza before checking in at the Wisdom House. And I was still exhausted. I was feeling very, very tired. I was very tense. It was partly because of the drive, and partly because I was feeling very out of place. I had sort of parachuted in with all of my everyday life energy into this still pond where everyone had been sitting for 4 days, 4.5 days. My physical discomfort continued into the next day. And I realized that part of the problem was that I still had a lot of chest congestion, so I wasn't breathing very deeply. One of the little tricks that I've discovered over the years of sitting for long periods of time during a retreat is to really settle into the breath, to feel kind of that slow expansion and contraction of my diaphragm, which kind of opens up your back and your shoulders, and just to let the breath be sort of where I settle. But I hadn't been breathing deeply for a week, and I still wasn't breathing deeply, and if I did try to breathe deeply, I would cough and just break into a fit of coughing. So my trick wasn't working for me. So I was pretty miserable for the first 24 hours, tense, caught up in my thoughts, feeling sorry for myself. Self-pity and self-loathing go together really nicely, don't they? I think they do. They make just a wonderful little stew for a session. And then I started to practice. I came back to my breath, my shallow breath, and I just allowed it to be the breath that it was. Just in-breath, followed by out-breath, followed by in-breath. I returned to labeling my thoughts. Instead of just letting my thoughts run away with me, I would actually say what I was thinking to myself, just to sort of notice what I was actually thinking. I'm thinking my breathing is very shallow. Thinking that I have a lot of pain in my back. I'm thinking that I don't like the way that I feel. I'm thinking I don't know if I can make it for another day and a half. And I didn't have to practice like this for very long before something shifted. It's not that I wasn't feeling any discomfort anymore. I was feeling discomfort still. But my relation to it had shifted. I wasn't adding to my discomfort with my thoughts. Don't we all get caught up in habitual thinking from time to time? How do you practice with your habitual patterns of mind? Can you enter Zen there? The Buddha recognized that sickness, old age, and death are an inevitable part of life. How do we practice with these truths? Can we enter Zen there? There's a koan about this, of course. Case 3 of the Blue Cliff Record. Master Ma is unwell. So I'll read this koan for you. It's very short. Great Master Ma was unwell. The temple superintendent asked him, "Teacher, how has your venerable health been these days?" The great master said, "Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha." Great Master Ma was unwell. The temple superintendent asked him, "Teacher, how has your venerable health been in recent days?" The great master said, "Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha." So Master Ma was actually a very, very influential Zen teacher during the Tang Dynasty. His full name was Mazu Daoyi, Baso in Japanese. He had a very, very strong, vigorous style of teaching, similar to Linji. Very, very tough teacher with shouting and hitting and all of those good old Zen techniques for getting people to wake up. He is said in one of the resources that I was looking at, he was said to have had 139 successors, each of whom went on to teach the Dharma. Can you imagine? 139 successors. So this was a very, very vigorous man. However, when this koan begins, this vigorous master is very, very ill. He knows that he is close to death. And the temple superintendent knows it too. Nonetheless, the superintendent comes in and asks Master Ma, somewhat euphemistically, "How's your health today?" I'm sure you've been in a situation where you or someone you know walks into a hospital room with a cheery attitude that's completely out of proportion to what's going on. Probably because they can't face their own discomfort. How has your venerable health been in recent days as he's dying? And Ma says something very interesting. He says, sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha. Now, in a way, I don't think sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha needs any explanation. I think at some level, our intuition gives us an idea about what Ma was saying. But I found the commentary to give me just a richer understanding of what's going on here. And it says in the commentary that sun-faced Buddha is a Buddha that lives in the world for 1,800 years, or perhaps we might think for eternity. So sun-faced Buddha is like the sun that has been around for 4.5 billion years, give or take. So it's a very long-lived Buddha, very vigorous. Moon-faced Buddha is a Buddha that lives for 24 hours, a day and a night. So Ma's saying sometimes we're healthy and vigorous, with many years of life ahead of us. Sometimes we're weak, perhaps unable to keep food down or to get out of bed without assistance, perhaps with only a few hours left in this life. This is the way life is. This is the life of Buddha. Now, I think it's possible to misinterpret Ma's response to think when I'm unwell, I should have perfect equanimity like Master Ma. I should be like him. This is how I want to be. And if I'm not this way, something is wrong. I must not be good enough. That's not a correct interpretation. You should banish the word should from your mind. There is no should in Zen. Our job is to pay attention to our experience. Whatever you are experiencing, notice it. Notice what you think. Notice how you react. Notice what's going on in your body. Because it's the noticing that trains us, it teaches us who we are, and allows us to transform our experience over time. Pay attention. No should. Because we go through these states of mind, these states of mind where we're feeling very vigorous and strong, the states of mind where we're feeling very weak, we're very sorry for ourselves. But regardless of our state of mind, we're not separate from Buddha, from our own Buddha nature. All of life is continuously expressing Buddha nature, all the time. As Ryoshin Hoshi said in his Dharma talk of day 6 of sesshin, it circulates everywhere. We don't always feel this wholesomeness, this wholeness. We have our expectations of how we want things to be, and when we don't go that way, we suffer, and we add to whatever physical and emotional suffering that we may already be experiencing. We think we've done something wrong, or that we deserve whatever has befallen us, or whatever. Anytime our carefully constructed plans or expectations are interrupted, our self-centered minds come alive, they awaken like a demon from beneath the earth, and we get caught up in our thoughts, and we chase our thoughts, and we become angry Buddha, or self-pitying Buddha, or self-loathing Buddha. But the superpower we get as a result of this practice is that over and over we face our experience If we're experiencing physical discomfort, if we can't breathe, that sucks. If we're raging against the discomfort, we can see what we're doing. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. We can see how that raging against our own experience adds to our suffering. And over time, we get better at stopping. We just stop. We let it go. Just in the same way we drop our thoughts during zazen. That's what we're training. Just to not grasp our experience, but just to allow it to flow. When we're feeling like shit, we feel like shit. And that sucks. When we feel good, we allow ourselves to feel good. We allow ourselves to feel that joy. This doesn't happen overnight. I've been practicing for 24 years. All of the seeds of my conditioning, all of the seeds that I brought to the Zendo 24 years ago are still within me. None of them have gone away. And I can still find myself responding like a little boy who feels sorry for himself when things don't go my way. It says in the pointer to this case that the intent of this practice is for us to find a place to enter. But it cautions us that even this can become a nest or a den. Don't get stuck there. We study the self. We turn the light of our attention from our constantly churning mind to the physical sensations of being in this body, in this moment, to the mental formations going on in our mind, to understanding our habit energies. We enter there, wherever we are. Our practice is also to be attuned to the larger container of what's going on around us. We can feel like shit, but there's a sesshin going on, and it's time for work practice, and everyone else is tired too, so we do our job during sesshin. We enter there. We see there's a lot of suffering in the world. And even though we have a lot to do in our life already, we find time to help in some small way. We enter there. In the identity of relative and absolute, we chant, if you do not see the way, you do not see it even as you walk on it. When you walk the way, it is not near, it is not far. If you are deluded, you are mountains and rivers away from it. And I always thought that line was a little scary. If you're deluded, you're mountains and rivers away from it. But be careful with these words. You're mountains and rivers away from it in this moment. And you can realize it in an instant. And be right there. You can enter right in that moment when you are mountains and rivers away from it. Why? Why can we do this? How can we do this? It's because if there was no delusion, we wouldn't be able to enter it. Without delusion, there is no enlightenment. Without delusion, there's no enlightenment. In the Genja koan, it says, those who have great realization of delusion are Buddhas. Those who are greatly deluded about realization are sentient beings. I always love that line. Those who have great realization of delusion are Buddhas. Those who are greatly deluded about realization are sentient beings. And another line in the Genja koan, which echoes what I was saying just a moment ago, when you first seek Dharma, you imagine you are far away from its environs. But Dharma is already correctly transmitted. You are immediately your original self. Wherever you are, you can enter there. What about entering through the gate of sickness? Bokushu Sensei, I think a couple weeks ago, quoted from the Vimalakirti Sutra. Good people, this body is impermanent, without durability, without strength, without firmness. The thing that decays in a moment, not to be relied on, it suffers, it is tormented, a meeting place of manifold ills. Sickness, old age, and death are inevitable. If we can practice then, we can truly see Great Master Ma, Sun-faced Buddha, Moon-faced Buddha. Teacher, where can I enter Zen? Do you hear the sound of the stream? Enter there. Do you feel the pain in your back? Are you frustrated by your own habitual voice of self-criticism? Do you notice the sweat running down your face when the sun is high in the sky? Do you enjoy the quiet cup of tea at the end of a long day? Enter there.